All right, let's dive into third-party coin authentication and grading. I know a lot of you are looking for more info on this. You know, whether you're thinking about selling some coins, or maybe you just inherited a collection and you just aren't sure where to even begin. That's why we're doing this deep dive today. We're going to be breaking down this really interesting article from Intelligent Collector magazine. It's by James Halpern and Greg Rohan, and they are the co-chairman and president of Heritage Auctions, respectively. So we know we're getting the expert insights here. And today we're going to unpack why this certification matters so much, when it's actually worth the investment, and the best way to actually go about the process.
Yeah, it's really smart to be thinking about these things because understanding coin authentication and evaluation, that's really what the value of your collection hinges on.
Okay, so let's start there. Why are these things so important?
Well, think of it this way. Third-party grading, it brings this level of objectivity to the process. Buyers and sellers, they both need to be able to trust the assessment of a coin's authenticity and its condition, of course. And having that independent verification, well, that's
So
key.
this is more than just like someone's opinion.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It takes out a lot of the guesswork. And I think it really reduces the potential for any disputes. In fact, Halpern and Rohan, they have this great example in the article. It's about the 1886 Morgan dollar.
Oh, right. That's the one where just one grade difference
Right.
can mean a difference of thousands of dollars. I mean, that's a big deal.
Exactly. And it just highlights how important these seemingly small details can be, when we're talking about a coin's value.
So how did we even get to this whole grading system? How did we go from, just saying pretty good
Yeah.
to this really precise evaluation?
It's actually really interesting how it's evolved. So the 70-point grading system that we use today, it was developed by Dr. William Sheldon. And it wasn't always this detailed. It started with these broader categories. And over time, as the market demanded more precision, it shifted to this numerical scale that we use now.
Oh, wow. So instead of just saying a coin is uncirculated, now we're looking at things like luster, strike quality, and
Yeah.
surface preservation under a microscope.
Exactly. We're talking about those tiny details. That can really have a big impact on a coin's value.
I mean, it sounds like coin grading has become a real science.
It really has. And in this world, there are two big players that you really need to know about: NGC and PCGS. They're the leading grading services, trusted by collectors and dealers all around the world.
I was just going to ask about them. They seem to be like the gold standard when it comes to coin grading. I mean, people trade coins sight unseen just based on their certifications, right?
That's right. Their reputation is just that strong. It's almost like having this guarantee of authenticity and quality.
So if someone is thinking about getting their coins graded, they should definitely check out NGC and PCGS.
Yeah, they're a great place to start. But, there's one more thing to keep in mind. NGC and PCGS, they work through these authorized dealer networks. So for people collecting on their own, the process might be a little less straightforward.
Oh, that's interesting. So what does that mean for someone who wants to get their coins graded?
It basically means that there's a little more to it than just sending your coins straight to NGC or PCGS. You'll need to find a good dealer, someone who can help you navigate the whole process.
Okay, so let's get to the big question that I think everyone's thinking. When is it actually worth getting a coin certified? I can imagine it's not something to just jump into.
You're absolutely right. It really is a cost-benefit analysis because not every coin is going to benefit from being graded.
Right. The article had a good rule of thumb for this. They said the graded coin needs to be worth more than the ungraded coin plus the cost of the grading.
Exactly. It's all about maximizing what your collection is worth, not just adding extra expenses.
So what are the reasons why someone would even want to get their coin certified? When does it actually make sense financially?
Well, there are two main reasons: authentication and added value.
Okay, let's unpack those. Starting with authentication.
Okay, so imagine you have this rare or valuable coin, and there's some question about whether it's authentic or not. Getting it graded removes all that doubt.
Because you have this trusted expert verifying that it's the real deal.
Precisely. And the second reason, which is the added value, well, that goes back to the Morgan dollar example. A professional grade can really increase a coin's market value, like dramatically.
So it's almost like an investment then. You're paying for a grade. That could really increase what the coin's worth.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it. Collectors and dealers, they're willing to pay a premium for certified coins because of that guarantee of authenticity and quality.
So it's not just about bragging rights. It's a strategic move. This is really fascinating. I can already see why people want to get their coin certified. But before I start digging through my own coin jar, I want to know more about what the process actually looks like. What are the steps to submitting a coin for grading?
All right, so first things first, you need to find an authorized dealer, and you want to make sure they're reputable. Ideally, look for someone who's a member of the Professional Numismatists Guild. They have a really strict code of ethics, and they have to go through these thorough background checks.
So finding the right dealer is just as important as choosing the right grading service.
Absolutely.
So, okay, I've found a dealer I trust. What's next?
Well, you have two options. If you live close to the dealer, you can go meet them, and you can look at your coins together and decide which ones you want to submit. But if not, you can ship your coins to the dealer. But it's super important to pack them securely and make sure you insure them for their full value.
Yeah, that makes sense. But how do you figure out the insurance value, especially if you're not an expert?
That's where having a trusted dealer really comes in handy. They can help you figure out the insurance value based on their expertise and their knowledge of the market.
So just having open communication with your dealer is key.
Exactly.
All right, so my coins are insured. They're on their way to the grading service. What happens next?
Well, this is where things get really interesting. Welcome back to our deep dive, into third-party coin grading.
All right, so I'm ready to find out what happens after those coins get shipped off. It's kind of like sending your kids off to college.
Yeah.
You're excited for them, but you're also a little nervous about what they're going to encounter.
Yeah, well, instead of frat parties and exams, your coins are headed for a pretty meticulous examination process.
Okay, so walk me through it. What kind of scrutiny are we talking about here?
Oh, it's serious business. So these highly trained graders at NGC and PCGS, they examine each coin, under magnification, of course, and they're checking for authenticity, wear and tear, strike quality. I mean, it's really incredibly detailed.
I bet they're looking for like the tiniest imperfections, signs of cleaning or damage, anything that could affect the value.
Exactly. They have special lighting and tools to spot things that you or I would never even see. And it's all to make sure the grading process is accurate and fair.
Wow, it's really starting to make sense why a single grade difference can mean so much in terms of the value.
Oh, absolutely. It's those subtle little differences that can make a good coin a great coin. And, that's reflected in the grade.
So let's say a coin passes the test. What happens then? Do they just slap a sticker on it and send it back?
Not quite. So they take the coin and they encapsulate it in this tamper-proof holder. It's often called a slab.
Oh, so like a protective case.
Yeah, it's more than that, actually. So it displays the coin's grade and all this other identifying information, and it makes sure that the coin is safe and protected over the long term. Plus, it guarantees the authenticity.
So it's like a birth certificate and a security system, all in one.
You got it. It's peace of mind for the owner. And for anyone who might buy or sell the coin later on.
Okay, but what happens if something goes wrong? I mean, accidents happen. What if a slab gets damaged or lost?
That's a good question. Luckily, both NGC and PCGS, they offer guarantees on their grading and encapsulation. So if a slab gets damaged while it's with them, they'll replace it.
Oh, so they stand behind their work. That's good to know.
Absolutely. I mean, they have a real interest in protecting their reputation and the integrity of their whole grading process, right?
Right. So we've talked about the benefits of getting coins graded for buying and selling, and even estate planning. But what about for people who just collect coins because they love history? Is getting them graded still something they should think about?
Yeah, it depends what the collector wants to get out of it. But I'd say for a lot of people, grading can actually make the hobby even more enjoyable. Well, think of it this way. Having a coin that's been professionally graded, it can help you understand its quality better and even its historical context. It's like it validates your appreciation for that specific coin. Plus, graded coins are usually easier to organize and display, so it's easier to share your collection with other people.
So it's not just about how much money it's worth. It's about the knowledge you gain and the pride of owning it.
That's a great way to put it. And let's face it, knowing that your coins are graded correctly and that they're protected, well, that can give you real peace of mind.
For sure. Okay, so we've talked a lot about NGC and PCGS, but are they the only options out there? Are there other good grading services that collectors should know about?
That's a question I get a lot, and it's definitely a valid one. So while NGC and PCGS are the most well-known and probably the most trusted, there are other reputable services out there.
Okay, I'm all ears. What are some of the alternatives?
Well, one option is ANACS. That stands for the American Numismatic Association's Certification Service. They've been around for a long time, and they have a solid reputation. Another option is ICG, Independent Coin Graders. They're known for having affordable prices, and they usually have a faster turnaround time.
Oh, so if someone's on a budget. Or if they need it done quickly, ICG might be a good choice.
Yeah, possibly. But it's important to remember that these other services, they might not have the same reach in the market as NGC or PCGS, but they can still provide reliable authentication and grading.
So it sounds like the key is to do your research and choose the service that fits your needs and your budget.
Exactly. Look for services that are transparent about their grading standards, make sure they use graders who have a lot of experience, and check if they have any guarantees on their work.
It really seems like you have to do your homework.
You do, and don't be afraid to shop around. And compare different services, online forums and reviews. They can be really helpful for getting insights from other collectors.
This has been so informative. I feel like I'm finally starting to understand all the little details of coin grading.
That's great to hear.
But before we start calling ourselves experts, let's take a quick break, and then we'll be back. For the last part of our deep dive, we'll cover some of the common mistakes that people make and how you can avoid them. So stay tuned. All right, we're back for the last part of our deep dive into coin authentication and grading. It's amazing how much we've learned, from the history of grading to how to choose a grading service. But before we wrap up, I'm curious, are there any common misconceptions or pitfalls that collectors should watch out for, when it comes to this whole process?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And, there are a few important things to remember. I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that a higher grade automatically means a higher value.
Yeah, I can see why people would think that.
Right, it seems logical. But the grade is just one factor. You have to remember that rarity and demand and historical significance. Those all play a huge role in figuring out how much a coin is worth. You could have a coin that's in perfect condition, but if it's a really common type, it might not be worth as much as a rarer coin, even if that rarer coin has slightly lower grade.
So it's like comparing a brand new car, like a basic one, to a vintage sports car. The new car might be in perfect condition, but that vintage car, it's going to be worth more because it's rare and it has that history.
Exactly. Another thing to watch out for is overgrading. That's when a coin is given a grade that's higher than it should be.
Oh, how does that happen?
Well, sometimes it could be because the grader isn't very experienced, or, sometimes there might be some intentional manipulation going on.
So how can you protect yourself from being taken advantage of?
The best way to protect yourself is to know what you're doing. Learn about the grading standards. And if you're not sure about a coin's grade, don't be afraid to ask another expert for their opinion. It's always better to be safe than sorry.
So you're saying research is key?
It really is. Especially when it comes to understanding market acceptability, because not all grading services are equal. The grades from some services might be more widely accepted than others.
Is that where NGC and PCGS have that advantage?
Exactly. Their grades are really respected in the market. So if you're buying or selling coins, it's usually best to stick with certifications from them or other reputable services like them.
Okay, so let's say you're looking at your own coin collection and you're thinking about getting some graded. How do you even decide which coins to send in?
It goes back to that cost-benefit thing we were talking about before. Grading fees can really add up, so you really want to focus on the coins that are most likely to go up in value after they're graded.
So not every coin in my collection needs to be graded.
Right. Look for coins that are rare or are in high grade or that have some kind of historical significance. Those are usually the best ones to get graded.
So it's like making a smart investment. You're focusing on the coins with the most potential.
Exactly. And don't forget about the condition of your coins. If a coin is really worn down or damaged, or if it's been cleaned, it's probably not going to get a very good grade.
So sometimes it's better to just leave those well-loved coins alone.
Exactly. At the end of the day, it really comes down to why you collect coins. If you collect for the historical value and just for the enjoyment of it, then getting them graded might not be as important. But if you're thinking about buying and selling coins or investing in them, then understanding coin grading is super important.
I have to say, this whole deep dive has been so helpful. We started out feeling kind of lost, but now I feel like we have a good grasp on the basics of coin authentication and grading. I feel much more confident about how to approach it all.
I'm glad to hear that. And remember, the more you learn about coin collecting, the better decisions you'll be able to make.
That's great advice. And for our listeners, remember, if you're ever not sure about something, reach out to an expert. There are lots of resources out there to help you along the way. Happy collecting, everyone.